Did J. Cole dropping the fall off mean his actual fall off? In 2018, J. Cole did something that would haunt hip-hop fans for nearly a decade. At the end of his KOD album, he included a track called 1985, Intro to The Fall Off. 8 words. That's all it took to promise something that wouldn't arrive for 8 years. He told fans it was coming. In 2019, he said next year. At the end of 2020, he released a list suggesting it was still on the way. But what actually dropped in 2021? The off-season. Not the fall off. Something else. Something that wasn't what we were waiting for. This is the story of how an album title became a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is the fall off. Before we talk about the fall, you gotta understand the wait. Cole didn't just tease an album. He teased a concept. A full circle moment. He promised that the fall off would bring his career narrative back to where it started with the come up in 2007. For nearly a decade, that album existed in the collective consciousness of hip-hop as this mythical project. The final statement. The masterpiece he was supposedly crafting in the shadows. Every year that passed, the expectations grew. The legend expanded. The fall off wasn't just an album anymore, it was a cultural event waiting to happen. But here's the thing about hype. The longer you wait, the more impossible it becomes to deliver. While the fall-off was being handcrafted, Cole's presence in hip-hop started to shift. The off-season in 2021 broke Spotify records. It was a massive commercial success. But creatively, it felt like a detour. A placeholder. Something to keep fans fed while the real project gestated. Between 2021 and 2026, hip-hop moved. The landscape changed. New voices emerged. New sounds dominated. Drake was everywhere. Kendrick was everywhere. The younger generation didn't grow up waiting for the fall off. They were building their own legacies. Cole's silence wasn't golden. It was costly. And here's the uncomfortable truth, while Cole was perfecting his final album, his cultural relevance took a hit. Not catastrophically. Cole's never irrelevant. But there was a noticeable cooling. A loss of momentum. The artist who used to be in every conversation about the best rappers alive suddenly became the guy waiting for his last album. 5 years. That's how long it had been since his last solo tour. 5 years since he was out there commanding stages and feeding crowds with new material. In hip-hop, that's a lifetime. That's enough time for people to move on. Enough time for relevance to become a memory. The fall off, the concept of it, was killing Cole's presence. Then, on February 6, 2026, it finally happened. The fall off was real. It existed. A double album. 24 songs. An hour and 41 minutes of Cole processing his life through 2 lenses, age 29 and age 39. The album debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200, and critics gave it a generally positive reception. But here's where the title becomes prophetic. The Fall Off isn't just the name of Cole's last album. It's also the story of his career over the past 5 years. The gap. The silence. The way anticipation slowly turned into ambivalence. The way waiting for a masterpiece accidentally created a fall-off from the culture he helped build. Critics noted that Cole succeeded in presenting J. Cole in his final form, freed from the pop chasing of his early career. But that freedom came at a cost, the cost of 5 years where he wasn't competing, wasn't innovating, wasn't pushing hip-hop forward. He was just waiting. Cole marketed this as bringing his concept full circle. From the come-up in 2007 to the fall-off in 2026. But maybe the real full circle is this: the album that was supposed to be his masterpiece became a document of a career cooling down. Not because the album is bad. But because the journey to reach it changed him. Changed how we see him. Changed his place in hip-hop. The Fall Off worked as an album. But the Fall Off as a concept, as a lived experience over 8 years, became the actual narrative. Cole didn't just name an album. He accidentally described what happened to his momentum while he was making it. And now, with the Fall Off World Tour spanning 73 shows across North America, Europe, Australia, and South Africa through December, Cole is out here trying to reclaim that space. Trying to remind people why they waited 8 years in the first place. The question is, can you come back from a fall off? Or does an album, no matter how good, only document what you've already lost? That's the story of the Fall Off. An album that accidentally became prophecy. A masterpiece interrupted by its own delays. Cole's final chapter, shaped by the 8 years it took to write it.